Look, normally I'm always talking to you about the fun stuff with coding, JavaScript, what's possible for you, how you can actually get those dream jobs and make all of those things happen. Today, that's not what I'm here to talk to you about. Today, I want to talk to you about some of the harsh realities and the real truths behind the world of coding and what it actually takes for you to succeed, and why a lot of you will actually fail in your pursuit of becoming a developer or getting a job as a developer, and why many of you will actually quit. Today, I want to talk about the dark side of JavaScript, the dark side of coding in general, and give you the real tools you actually need. Because if you understand these hard truths, things that seem so difficult right now and hard to hear, but if you actually understand these will help you succeed in the long run. I promise. All right. So I want to go through these, and I hope that you get value out of this and learn. So right before we jump into this video, I want you to do me a favor. Just go ahead and smash that like button, so this video just starts going out to more people. So turn it into that blue thing. Okay. And once that happens, we're good to go. Okay, and subscribe to the channel, because this is a channel where we talk about all things JavaScript, React, and full stack development. Cool. All right, so let's just chat about this, right? What is this dark side of JavaScript? What are we talking about here? So a few things I want to talk about why a lot of people fail is most people think that they can just go through tutorial after tutorial, and once they do that, once they just go in this like weird cycle of watching this tutorial right here, then watching another one right here, and then watching another one right here, you'll feel like you're making progress, and then actually what's happening is you're just going in these circles, and you're not actually making the forward progress you want to make. You're not going in the straight line that you want to be going in. Okay. So we don't want this blob of mess. What we actually want is that straight path where you're actually making progress. Okay. And this happens for a lot of you, and a lot of you are stuck in that, and a lot of you don't know how to get out of that. A lot of you have trouble writing actual code from scratch. I know this because even when we were doing the live boot camp that we recently did, a lot of you came in, and when we asked you these questions, everybody's hands went up. We had like 500 people live, and we asked you, do you feel stuck in coding? Do you have problems when you have to do things from scratch? And literally everybody's hands went up, right? So when that happens, that means it's a problem, and we need to actually do something to resolve it. So a couple of things I want to talk about, okay? You are not going to succeed in the world of coding if you're not putting in time, okay? So I like to always start off with this. I will keep coming back to this. Because it's a skill, skills don't necessarily have that much leverage. Like you can't hire another person and then have them just learn the skill and you get the benefit. It doesn't work like that. Because if it did, I'd hire like 10 bodybuilders and then just have them work on their body, and then mine would start growing, But it doesn't work like that. There's no leverage there for me, which means I have to actually put in that time. I have to put in those hours. I have to wake up early. I have to put in the work and acquire that skill. So understand that, okay, let's just say coding is a skill and it takes time / hours, okay? Of course, some people are going to naturally be better at it than you are, okay? There's some people who are genetically wired for this, and you're not going to beat them. You're not going to beat those people. There are people who do the Google freaking, if you go on YouTube right now, there are these kids who are 17-year-olds, and they're winning the first place in some crazy Google competition. They will beat everybody. They were wired for scientific thinking, mathematical concepts, engineering, software development. They were wired for that, okay? So there are going to be always some people that are better than you at this. But one thing that is in your control, and the reason why I talk about look at coding as a skill or JavaScript as a skill, because a lot of the results you're going to get are based on the time and hours that you put in. Okay. And here's how I describe it, right? So for example, if it's about time and hours, this is why they even say, if you put in 10,000 hours into something, you can be a professional. Cool. Now, just to put it in perspective, what that really means is if you put in 10 hours per day into JavaScript, okay, into learning coding, you put in 10 hours per day. Well, generally, you're not going to go for 30 days a month because there's always something that happens. So you're not always going to go 30 days per month. All right. So instead, what will likely happen is, let's just say you do it for 20 days a month. Okay. Discounting for weekends, some other time, downtime, family time, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So you do it 10 hours, 20 days per month. And if we multiply that by, 12 times, because there's 12 months, the whole year, what you actually get is, let's write that down here. This is going to be about 2,400 hours. Okay. So if you did 10 hours of coding, 20 days a month for 12 months, you would have 2,400 hours of coding under your belt. When you have this many hours of coding, there's certain things that just statistically work. Even if you're slower than other people, even if your math isn't that strong, you're going to get to a certain level of competence. And this level of competence in the job world, see, I'm from the chess world. So we have Elo Systems and we have ratings, right? For example, you'll have people have a rating of 600 when you start. Like my girlfriend just started playing chess. She just learned the rules. She's probably a 600. I've never seen anybody that was under a 600. Okay. Then you can go up to 1,000. Club players are about like 1,200 rated. Then you have, 2,000 as an expert. I'm about 2,000. And then you have these like freaks who are 2,500s. They're called IMs. Okay. And then you have the GMs in chess. And then past GMs. So let's go here. They're like 2,700. 2,600. And then past GMs is like 2,700. They're super GMs. And that's pretty much the highest you can ever achieve in chess. 2,830, whatever was the top rating Carlsen has ever had. Magnus Carlsen is the #1 player in the world. So what I like about this Elo system is it's very accurate. So where I would put you on this Elo system and how it works is the first ratings are really easy to get. Going from 600 to 1,000 might take you, let's say, 2 months of solid focus in chess. But going from, let's say, 1,600 to 2,000 might take you 4 years. Okay. And for me to go from 2,000 to like 2,500 might take me like 10 years or 5 years of just like focus, full-time work. So it gets progressively harder. For a lot of you, after you put in 2,400 hours into coding, I would say that you get to about 1,200 rated or 1,400 rated player. Okay. And salary wise, what this might equate to is a junior developer making about, let's say, 60,000 plus. Okay. That's, I think, what that might equate to. Now, so just out of curiosity, where would you place yourself on this scale? I know I put it in hours, but as a junior developer, generally, skills like APIs, skills like back-end development, front-end development, how to deal with the database like Firebase, MySQL, how to deal with the front end, how to use React to build web-based components, forms, logins, user authentication, things of that nature, okay? Now, So yeah, maybe comment below what rating you think you are, because I would like to get a sense of where you guys are all at. And be honest, the people who are the worst, usually I have a term, I call it the Cafeteria Champions. Okay. These are the people that think they're the best in chess, but they've never competed actually. They've never actually been to real competitions. So for example, I love my dad, but he falls under this category, and they just beat the people that are nearby them, or maybe they're at your friendly school cafeteria beating everybody there. Okay. So I call them Cafeteria Champions, and they're generally rated about 1,000 or under. Okay. My dad is about 1,000 or under that. Not trying to knock on my dad. I love my dad. I learned chess from him, and I actually started playing because of him, and I started competing because of him. And one of my goals was to get as good as him one day. So that's where but Cafeteria Champions think they're like 2,500s, and that's how you can spot a Cafeteria Champion. They'll often be like, oh, I'm the best. Nobody can beat me. I'm so good. So don't be a Cafeteria Champion. Be real, okay? Be real. The good players are often like, oh, I suck, I'm 1,200. And they're usually beasts, they'll beat most people. They'll be like, I'm 1,800. The better you get at it, the more like even in jiu-jitsu and fighting, the better you get at fighting, the more you realize how badass everybody else is, because there's always somebody better than you at the jiu-jitsu gym. So people who are actual fighters, they pick the least amount of fights, because they know that there are levels to this shit. So same thing. So put a rating that you actually think you are genuinely, and put your skill level and whatever. Okay. So that's kind of what would happen if you put in 2,400 hours. I think if you put in 10,000 hours, then you start to get to this area between, the 2,000 and plus area. And that's where things explode. That's when you become disproportional, right? So for example, yesterday in chess, I broke 2,100, which means in bullet chess, and it said that I was better than 93% of the population. And there were 340,000 bullet players that just played last week. So that means I'm better than 315,000. When you fall into that category, that's when things explode, because majority of the world is behind you. Now you actually have a very real competitive edge. When you're playing a game of skill and you're not playing a game of leverage, you're not trying to grow a business, you're trying to grow your value as a developer to a company, then you can't skip skill. It doesn't matter how good your soft skills are. It doesn't matter how great of a human being you are. It doesn't matter how great your personality is, how likable you are. If you don't have your skill, there's nothing. Like if I'm building a team of chess and we're going to compete, I'm not going to take anybody that's under 1,000 or 2,000. That's not going to happen. It doesn't matter if 1,000 comes up to me and they're like, hey, but I'm a nice person. I don't care. That's great, but it doesn't matter. You need a certain level of competency to hang around and be with us. Otherwise, you can't be there, right? So in the world of coding and software development, you have to have a certain level of competency. Otherwise, it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless. Cool? So, but once you get into that 93%, now you're into the top percentile of the world. Now beautiful things start happening. Now what happens is that your salaries are going to start being disproportional too. Okay, so for example, this is an average salary of an average developer, which most of you will go on to become. How do I know? Just because statistically speaking, most of you are going to be average. All right, that's the definition of average. Okay, and then there are going to be very few of you that are going to be disproportionately bad or disproportionately really great. And my hope is that you fall in that disproportionately great category. Because when you join that category, now beautiful things start to happen. Instead of a $60,000 average salary, you start breaking into the 90K or the 100K salaries. Okay. And if you're really talking about 93%, well, in the world of development, what that actually looks like is between 200,000 to 300,000. That's what happens when you become, that's what happens when you get into this range, the 2100 range, the 93% range. And it's not far-fetched. I'm not making random shit up. Netflix engineers, front-end developers make 300,000. Snapchat software developers made 250. So that's what's required. But the dark side is the amount of hours you're willing to put in. The amount of hours you're willing to sacrifice away from friends, away from sometimes even family members, away from the people that you love. But that's why you really have to have a passion for it, where you have to enjoy it to the point where you're willing to actually do that. You know, because if you're not going to get into that category, and then just don't have those goals. Like, don't have fake goals. That's where unhappiness comes from. When you have goals that you think, like when you think you're 2100 and you tell yourself you are, but then you're like, why am I not making 300K? You start to go crazy. That's where unhappiness comes from. But if you know that your ambition is of a 1200, and you know currently you're at 1,000, and you know when you get to 1,200, you'll be happy with a $60,000 salary, then just focus on being happy and then do that. Make sure your ambitions match where you want to get to. Okay? Because then you actually will have a happy life. But the truth is that the people who are winning and becoming great, they're just spending ridiculous amount of time coding. And I will tell this to all of you, especially the ones of you that are older, that are, 30 and beyond. You're not that old, but I'm saying older, right? Not a 10-year-old or a 14-year-old, because when you're 10, 14, 15, 18, it's really easy to just go all in. As you start to get older, you have a lot of responsibilities in your life, which makes it difficult, but you still have to find ways. Okay. And if you can do 10 hours, find something that works. I'm not saying you won't make it. Okay. But what I am saying is that it'll take longer. All right. It'll just take longer. And that's really it. But if you become really good, if you become disproportionately good, you will get disproportionately good results. Okay? That's where the level of skill matters. And the skill is developed, just like for bodybuilding, your muscles are developed based on the time under tension, right? You're doing the curls and it's just that time under the tension. That's where the software development skill comes in, the time under tension of your brain being flexed and you thinking and you problem solving. Okay. So if I got rid of all of this, right, and we had something like this, let's say. Okay. Let's just say this is somebody's career. This is an average person's career. This is a below average person's career. And then this is a above average person's career. Okay. Really the biggest differentiation here, these gaps here, okay, and these gaps here, for majority of the times, the one reproducible thing you can boil this down to is hours. That's it. Yes, there are other factors like intelligence. There are other factors like what they did previously. There are other factors that are part of this. If somebody went to MIT or freaking Harvard and just had better education, it'll help to have that as when they come into these things. They'll have better designed ways of thinking about this. They'll have an advantage. That's true. 100% true. For example, if people who were farmers their whole lives, or who were construction workers, or who were basketball players, when they go in, my 1 rep max of a deadlift after years and years and years and years and years of training is 305. But a basketball player who's been playing basketball and never lifted weights goes in, they just start off with a 250 or 315 pound deadlift. So why? Because they did things that moved them forward in that direction, right? So they're more likely to be good at those things. So here, that little difference that I'm highlighting, this here and this here, just boils down to hours majority of the times, taking away a lot of the other advantages. Hours will help you overcome almost any of the problems. If you're a lot dumber than somebody else, if you just put in more hours, you will become smarter than them, and you will solve the things that they were having struggle that they were struggling with. Okay. If somebody grasps something in an hour and it takes you 3 hours, but if you spend now 4 hours, now you'll have, at the 3 hour mark, you'll match their understanding. And at the 4th hour mark, you will surpass their understanding, and you will be now at the next level of understanding. So these are key differentiators. Now, I'm not saying learning in an intelligent way isn't going to help you. Practicing, being mindful, having a good learning strategy, all of those are, of course, going to help you. But learning is just one of those things that it does take time and a lot of effort and hours, whether you're trying to learn soccer or ping pong, whatever it is. Okay. If you can get coaching, then great. You get supercharged if you get coaching. Then these hours that you put in are maximized, which means the results you would get in 4 hours, now you get in 2. Okay. And what this basically means is there's a difference of hours here, okay, in this lower category between, let's say below average and mediocre and average, and then above average, right? Excellent. So in this category right here, there is a difference of hours, but there's also a difference of salaries. For example, this person here probably makes $30K a year. This person here probably makes $60K a year. And then this person here probably makes $180K a year. Okay. It's crazy, but once you get good, you take over. Like look at the job. Okay, let me put it this way. Look at how businesses are structured. The business that wins first place just eats every other business. Like eats all of them. When somebody becomes the number one in a market, think, for example, Amazon in online e-commerce, nobody comes even close. They're just wiped out. Like if Amazon is doing $1 trillion, then the second person is doing $1 billion. Okay, it's the magnitudes of orders of difference. So with becoming disproportionately good, you get disproportionately great results. Okay. And the key differentiator between those salaries, between this salary, this salary, this salary, one reproducible thing, one thing that we all have under our control is hours. And the people that are putting in more time, more effort, more energy, more hours are getting the bigger results. So that's one key thing. Now, you can have extraordinary results, right? You can have this curve here, like a hockey thing, this weird hockey thing, right? And this hockey thing can happen when you are putting in hours. I think about it like this. When I was getting better at chess and learning chess, there were other people, like for example, let's take a Wonder who I played, and he was this kid that had to stand on top of this little 6-year-old that beat me. At the time when I was a 2000 rated player, I was at my peak and I was crushing everybody and I was ferocious. He would stand up on his chair, play me, because he was so chubby and cute and fat and short, he couldn't reach the pieces. So he would stand up on his chair to reach across, play the moves, and he completely annihilated me and beat me. And I was like, what the hell is happening? At that point, I had spent 6 years in practicing and learning chess. And at that time, he was 6 years old. So he couldn't have spent 6 years. He probably only spent 2 or 3 years. But was he much smarter than I am or that I was? I don't think so. I think I was way smarter than him in a lot of things in life. Like, I'm pretty sure he didn't know about taxes. He couldn't do math to save his life. He didn't understand algebra or calculus like the way that I did. You know, I was working on differential equations at the time. He had no idea about that. There were just so many things that was absolutely crushing him in, you know. And I just couldn't understand how he beat me. So at that point, I don't think it was hours. At that point, it was something else. And the something else was he was getting coached by some of the best trainers on the planet. And these trainers themselves were like 2,600 rated plus. You know, they were grandmasters. His dad was coaching him in chess all the time, and his dad was a strong player. And then his dad had connections to all the best coaches in the world, and they would train him. And he was getting this incredible training combined with the hours of training. So it was leveraged hours. And he just got ridiculous results, and he beat everybody. And now he's on track to be, you know, maybe even possibly the world's strongest player. But now he's a grandmaster. He's a 2,600 rated player. And when he met me, you know, when he beat me, he was like 2,100, 2,200, something along those lines. So that's the key. When you're trying to win, hours are going to be a huge leverage. And then the other leverage is strategic planning, strategic thinking. Okay. That's going to put you way over the top and give you this huge advantage. Okay. That's what happens with all the students that join our coding bootcamp. You know, for people who are watching from the outside, it's like, hey, how are these students getting these results? It doesn't make that much sense. How is somebody getting, you know, a job for 40K, 50K, 70K, 80K in less than 7 months, in less than 8 months? We just had our 4th student get a job from our bootcamp Full Stack Mastery. Keep in mind, none of the cohorts are finished yet, and we have students getting jobs. And we just had Joshua. His name is Joshua. He just landed a job with a company, with a crypto company, actually, which is super interesting. So we're providing like the most insane results of any bootcamp, and we're not funded, and we don't have hundreds of millions of dollars behind us. We don't have hundreds of instructors running the bootcamp. So how is this happening? Well, it's simple. We make sure that a student put in the hours. If they don't put in the hours, we don't let them in the bootcamp. We don't let them in the program. You can't even be in because you're bound to fail. You're bound to be this $30,000 or $20,000 person. We don't want to work with you because we don't want to get you below mediocre results. If we get you below mediocre results, then it makes our program look bad. So we want to be in the category where we're producing these like high achievers, like a wonders. That kid's name was a wonder. We want to help produce these people here, the freaks of nature. And to produce the freaks of nature, you have to have people who are already committed and willing to put in ridiculous amount of hours and work and all of that. But then you give them strategic planning, and then they get what we call leveraged hours. And when you get leveraged hours, now your hours are not proportional compared to an average person. Your hours have this like weird hockey stick, disproportional results that they provide. And it's in this hockey stick growth where winners are formed and they take over the market because they're the top 93%, right? So we don't want to produce club players that are 1100s and that's it. We want to produce players who are like 2000 plus. Okay. 2600, 2800, that takes years and years of time. So it's possible that these students can get to there too. So that's why I just say 2000 plus. Okay. Because once they're done with us, we get them to that like 93% best. We get them to where they can beat over most of the people. Their first jobs are going to be around this much. And the reason is because they're looking to get experience, get their foot in the door. But once they have their foot in the door, they're well poised to be getting very high paying jobs afterwards and break those 6-figure marks, right? A lot of the students at Clever Programmer have broken that 6-figure mark. A lot of students. I mean, we had some students that landed a contract for $325,000 Python contract. This guy started working for a big corporation and doing automation for them with Python. He landed that contract, $325,000. Think about that, $325,000 contract, one contract, right? So those are the freaks, and we're interested in producing freaks. Okay, that's really our goal. Yeah, so those were the thoughts on my mind. That's kind of the dark side of coding. That's the dark side of JavaScript. That's the dark side of the actual truth that not a lot of people talk about. They want you to believe in bullshit like you can do this and it's so easy and you can just have this like remote perfect life and everything is bullshit. All of those things, while there's amount of truth to them, and coding is amazing, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of freedom in it and it's an amazing thing, but if they're not telling you how hard it is and how many hours you actually have to put in, they're just trying to sell you some shit, and it's bullshit. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, keep that in mind. This is very important. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. All right, and if you want to get these leveraged hours and you want to get incredible results and you want to be the cream of the crop and you want to be the 2,000 plus rated players, click the button below and we'll have a way for you to book a call. Okay, we have our coding boot camps called Full Stack Mastery. We produce the best results for people out there, hands down. We're not funded, and because we're smaller cohorts, we can work with you so much more personally than any other boot camp. We can give you so much more hands-on training and guidance. It's ridiculous, and our instructors will outcare any other program. We have had it happen countless times where we have students or people who want to change careers that have found other coding boot camps, are going there and they quit those coding boot camps and they come to ours. They drop out of other. Even Joshua was going to another coding boot camp and he stopped it, continued hours, and got results. And he was going to a really famous big coding boot camp. I'm not going to name names, but he was going to a pretty big coding boot camp. Okay, so we work with you. We get you incredible results. We want to make sure that you're a good fit, though, because we don't want to take in people who are not going to be putting in the work and the time and the effort and the energy required to succeed. Okay, but if you want to get those amazing results, click the link below, book a call with my team. We're going to get on a call with you and we're going to figure out exactly what your skill level is at, exactly what your sticking points are, what you need to actually succeed. And we're going to see if you and we're a good fit for you. And if we're not, we'll give you a ton of value on the call. We'll send you, on your way. But if it makes sense and we are a good fit for each other and this program can work for you and you're going to be an amazing student, then we'll let you know how we can go forward with that. Okay? So if this is something that's interesting to you, you want to join the best coding bootcamp on planet Earth, click the link below, sign up for that call. Other than that, that's it. I hope you got value. It's your boy, Qazi from Clever Programmer. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.